2 of The Mind of Ivry begins now. So I'd like to welcome everyone to another edition of the Mind of Ivry podcast. On today, we have another special guest that I'm definitely honored to have. And would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Michelle Dewitt. I am the owner of Unbreakable Faith Corporation.
Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. And I just want to thank you personally for being part of this interview. We actually was able to network at a domestic violence awareness event that was held in Charlotte a few weeks back. And I purchased one of your books, and I'm proud that you wanted to come on and do this interview because you have a lot going on, and you have a real story that I feel like people definitely need to hear. And I just want to thank you again for that.
I'm honored. I'm honored. I'm honored to be on your show. I'm honored that you have accepted me.
No problem at all. So just to get things kind of started, so can you just tell the listeners, where you from and how long you've lived there?
Yes, I stay in Charlotte, North Carolina. Woohoo! I've been here all my life. I haven't moved anywhere. It's time for me to go somewhere.
Okay, okay. So with you being from the Charlotte area, for you, how was it growing up there?
Now, growing up was a little bit different. Being a little girl, it was a little tough living in a three-bedroom home with domestic violence, sexual assault, and trauma. Being that, having three brothers in the house and three bedrooms and just not being able to do anything. My daddy was real strict. He wouldn't let us go anywhere or do anything. So growing up was real rough. Like typical children, you fall out with children in school on the school bus and you get into fights and things like that. And that happened. But yeah, it was a little rough growing up.
Okay. And I know you spoke about the domestic violence, and that does alter a lot of kids' lives growing up when they're seeing that at an early age. And it's just so much that goes on because your brain is still developing, and for you to have to go through that, I'm pretty sure that where you at in life right now is something that you do reflect on, and it's a tool you use to help other people. So I definitely want to commend you on just being able to be strong and in that, because sometimes that doesn't always happen where people are able to move beyond that.
And you're right, Elijah. You're so right. Man, I didn't know. It seemed like in the home that it was just typical, like a regular home situation because it happened so often. It was just like, okay, this is just how it's supposed to be. My dad yells at my mom, he slaps her, or he punches her. Okay, this is the regular life situation. And that's just how it is. Everybody house go through this. That's what you think as a child.
Yeah, and that's just that mindset, like you said, like you're mentioning, it can hinder you because you feel like, hey, I'm supposed to feel love. I'm supposed to, when I come home from school or hanging out with friends, I'm supposed to come home to love, not come home to this destruction and chaos. It's already enough going on outside the home, so to come home to that is just a lot that piles up on you. So again, I'm definitely glad that you're at where you're at right now, for
Yeah.
sure. And you being from the Charlotte area, I understand that is a very uh, plentiful place as far as what a lot of up and coming people or artists and creators. I see a lot of artwork down there. I see a lot of new businesses opening up down there. So in that area, is there anything in your mind that is unique to you or significant historically from that area?
Um, there's a lot. I love like you said, the beautification of Charlotte with the artwork. The artwork is just magnificent to me. Um, just to go around and see the different types of artwork. And I can't think of his name now. He's a comedian. He came out of Charlotte, and I cannot think of his name. But he's a comedian, and he came out of Charlotte area. So when to see how successful he is, I'm like, okay, all right, we got some things going on in Charlotte. And having Cam uh, back on the Panthers team. He should have never been let go. That's my opinion. I love him. He does a lot for the Charlotte area. As a matter of fact, he's getting ready to give away about 50, 60 tickets for an upcoming game.
Well, that's definitely good on him because he gets painted a certain way because he's boisterous and he quote unquote doesn't play by the political rules that sometimes they want these players
Mm,
to do. You know, they don't mind them running the ball and jumping high and doing all these things and making money, but as soon as they talk on critical topics that affect their community directly, then it's just like they're either being divisive or they're causing certain issues. But we understand how that is. There's a lot of underlining things going on in the game.
yeah,
But it's good that he's back, and it's good that he's continuing to make that area more profitable by encouraging other people and then also taking out of his own money to help out the area. So he's definitely living by his actions.
yes.
That's definitely good to hear. And as you were growing up, I understand you detailed about the things you saw as a early, as a kid. Were there any other things that or trials that you went through that you feel like also helped shape you to the person that you are today?
The trials, some of the trials that I went through was I was at the age of 4. I was sexually abused. I was molested by two of my uncles, and it continued with other family members as I grew. Um, Again, as a child, you're told to do what I say, and that's the routine that happened in the household. And so I did what my uncles told me to do as a little girl because they were older than me and they were my quote unquote uncles. And so I thought this was the right thing to do. And as I grew up, I had two other uncles that sexually assaulted me, and I was raped at 14. And this uncle that raped me denied it. I didn't tell anyone because I was scared of my dad. I was scared of what would happen. So I didn't tell anyone for 6 months. My mom and dad would make sure that my brothers and I go to church. We went to church and come back home. They did not go. They didn't attend. My grandmother, of course, we went with grandmother and attended church, and my mind was everywhere. And so, attending church, I guess I'm now looking at it now. I know that they saw the vulnerability in me as a child. Actually, this pastor's son took advantage of me at the church, and he wanted me to do things with his friends, and I thought that for sure he was my boyfriend, but it was just all the activity of having fun with me. And so I went through a pretty rough stage in life, but now with that coming out, I have this heart's desire to help the youth out that have been sexually traumatized and sexually abused because I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice. And it took a long time. I didn't go through counseling, Elijah. I didn't have anything. All I went through was the abuse and the hurt, the trauma, and and I kept it in. And like I said, when I finally told it, when I was 6 months after I had gotten raped from this particular uncle, um, there was a family meeting, and we had this family meeting, sat down, talked with my dad. My dad, he was so disrespectful to me and the things he said. My grandmother told me that I was no longer her grandchild. My uncle denied it, of course. And during this time, my mom, she was so hurt. She's already being abused. She's dealing with having a daughter now that didn't have a. I love my mom. I didn't want to hurt her anymore. And she thought that I didn't want to tell her because I didn't like her. And that was totally the opposite. And to see my mom cry that day, it was so hurtful. And then my dad told me, well, told us, we could never tell anyone outside of the home. No one.
Wow.
He threatened, yeah, he threatened us. He told us that if we told, because my mom picked up the phone to call the police on my uncle, and when when she did, my dad went and got his gun. He said he would kill everyone in the house, and that wasn't a protective father. That wasn't a loving father. You know, here it is again. I'm being hit again. My spirit is crushed. I did not have a voice. And so, with what I'm doing today and writing my book and um, having that out, I've been there. It talks about the stages that I went through in life from being 4 years old all the way up through my adulthood, and talking about being very promiscuous. I didn't know why. I just knew, people are addicted to drugs, alcohol, and I was addicted to sex. That was my addiction. I had an urge. It didn't matter who it was. I just had this deep desire that I wanted to have sex. It just didn't matter who.
Wow, that's, I mean, that's very traumatic to have to go through, especially when the people that's supposed to care for you are the ones that are also putting you in danger. And that will cause you to feel like, that is love at some point, if you let that continue to be something that holds you back, or you use it as a crutch. Well, if somebody don't treat me like this, they don't love me. And I see that a lot when it comes to certain domestic violence cases, or people that get introduced to sex at a young age. They feel like, oh well, if you're not aggressive with me, or you don't treat me this way, you don't talk down to me, then you don't care, because the people who are my blood, or the people that raised me, that's how they show me love. And it's tough hearing it, because it's something we see every day, and people don't always have the outlet to talk to others about it, or they just don't feel comfortable. And to anyone out there listening, understand that drugs aren't just what you consume. There are also things that can be, sex, or there could be, it's other vices you could have that can just really bring you down and just change your whole trajectory moving forward. And if you do need help, or you do want to reach out to somebody, you have somebody on the line here, Michelle Dewitt, that you can reach out to, whether male or female, and she's going to give you advice from her point of view, because she's been there. And for those that need that encouragement and that motivation, definitely seek her out. And that's why I like to interview people like her, or because they have a real story. It's not about just the businesses and everything else that's going on, because that helps out in the grand scheme of things. But to have somebody that's going to be down to earth and really break down to you certain things they went through and how they're able to make it. Because sometimes you hear success stories without hearing the struggle. And I think when people are able to hear the struggles and the trials, and understand that sometimes that those are things that come with it, you can be able to move forward. And I just want to thank you again for being able to say all those things.
Yes, Elijah, I don't mind it at all. Growing up, I had very low self esteem. You just think that everybody knows your business, and we want to be careful with our children. And like I said, I want to make sure that anybody that has been through what I've been through, or going through that they speak up now, that they open their mouth and say, you know what, I'm not tolerating this pain anymore. I'm not going through this abuse anymore, because it does affect your mind. Um, Having low self esteem and going out there, I ended up having children. I dropped out of school. And I just thought that this was it. This is over, and I'm done. You feel worthless. And so I want to make sure that our audience understands, if you don't mind, Elijah, I would like to share some of the signs that you can look for when someone is going through being victimized, or dealing with even sex trafficking. I work and volunteer with a group here in Charlotte. that deals with sex trafficking of youth, girls, and just to hear their stories is is traumatized. Just to hear it and how traumatized they are from being sex trafficked. And I would like to share the signs if that's okay with
Oh
you.
yes, go right ahead. This is your platform. Go ahead.
Knowing the signs does not, one does not self identify, they don't identify themselves as a victim. That's a sign. They have multiple phones. A lot of parents don't know, but children today, they have 2 and 3 phones. Some of them, if they're being trafficked, the tra- the person that's trafficking them, they give them a phone so that they can talk with them and tell them how what they want them to do, where they can meet them at, and it starts out just online. Our children talk online on many different social media sites, and we as parents, we can't hover over them all the time and say, what you doing, what you doing, what you doing. But we do need to be made aware of what sites they have. Make sure that we do follow up and follow them on their sites. That's a good way to monitor them. That's inappropriate use of social media when they're going up there and they might be looking at pornography, or they may be taking pictures of themselves and sending it out. You can never get those pictures back. Um, they have really gotten really slick, I'll say the word slick, those traffickers, they really have with social media and how they approach our children. So there's physical and emotional abuse. That's another sign where if you see your child go from being very excited, they're outgoing, and then all of a sudden, quickly they start drawing back. You want to start asking questions. What's going on? What's happening? We don't want to be quick as parents or as adults, even in the school system. We don't want to be so quick to say they're sneaky or they're up to something. It could be that they have been traumatized or abused. So we want to make sure that we do that. If someone is talking on behalf of them, a lot of times you have other people talking on behalf of our youth and coming in and having conversations. Well, this is what she meant, or this is what he meant, or this is how we talked about things, and continue with that conversation. And that youth doesn't have the opportunity to say anything because that person has said, I'll handle it. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. You just do what I ask you to do. I'll call you. And if there's something that's lacking in the home, like shoes, that's a popular thing. Guys, they love shoes. Girls love shoes too. But more so, guys, they love the upcoming shoes and whatnot. And so you have guys, young boys that have been abused sexually. And Elijah, most of the time, the boys, they don't come forth. They do not. There's a large number of boys that don't come forth and talk about it. And it's like 100, in 2015, 106 boys that came forth in 2015, which is a ways back. But in 2019, only 60 came forth. That's a drastic drop. And that's just with one county. It's not with the whole Mecklenburg, it's not with the whole Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, but it's just in one particular county where that happened. And just imagine it's triple that with the girls. It's tripled with these young ladies. They may have poor hygiene, poor health conditions. They don't even care about making sure that how their hair looks, what their body smells like any longer. I mean, it just gets toxic. It's just toxic. They have poor attendance at school. They're not going to school anymore because in the beginning they're like, "Hey, I got me a new boyfriend," or and he's telling me that I don't have to go to school. So they hop in the car and they go out, and he's lavishing this young lady with a bunch of gifts, a bunch of whatever her eye, whatever pleases her. And here it is with this young lady now. She's happy about this. She doesn't even care about school. He introduces her to drugs. He introduces her to the sex life. And that's when it all starts. And also as well as the boys, the young men. The young men, they are introduced the same way, and then they be starting to think that, oh well, I'm gay because I'm having sex with a man, or this woman takes advantage of these young boys and start manipulating them the same exact way on social media. I mean, growing up, young boys have emotions just like girls. They see some boobies, they're gonna be like, woo woo. And so they're like, yes, I mean, I get to sneak and see some of that. And so then they manipulate them on social media. Well, I can show you more. How about we meet? I'll come to your game at the school, or I'll come to an event, or I'll meet you at the mall. Meet me at the stop sign. What's your address? And I'll meet you and I could show you more. I could do more with you. And what young child that's not fully developed mentally says, no, they're like, okay, this is exciting. This is a new toy. And they're like ready to run. But it's all in the end, it ends up being um, destructive. It's destructive. And so my job is to make sure that I do my part, and that is to yell out, scream loud that we need to protect our children. We need to surround our children. We need to show more love and not abuse our children. Just because Johnny has low attendance, you need to find out why. Not send Johnny in a room, take the electronics, and that's that. Well, you need to go to school. Why? You ask the question, why are you skipping school? But Johnny knows that you really don't want to answer. You just really want to fuss. Well, Johnny doesn't say anything. The same thing with, the female, Kara, or whoever. And they do the same. I understand. I've been there. I know that feeling. And I want our young people, I want our parents, I want our listeners, whoever's listening, to please understand my plea. We need to step up and do better. We got to step up and do better.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And you touched on a lot as far as what how social media has a big part in how kids, minds are funneled into thinking that, hey, well, my parents don't allow me to watch this or this, and all my friends are doing it, and peer pressure just, you know, intertwines itself in there, and it just creates a whole lot of kids confused. And in the society we live in right now, confusion runs the world, even for fully developed adults. But for kids, they always want to start the kids first because they're the ones that's going to be uh, they're going to be in charge of the next generation. They're going to be the leaders that are going to be coming up. So they want to make sure that they key in on whatever agendas that they may have, as far as those that are in the political realm, social media, whoever is backing them, as far as whoever has the most money and stuff like that. They're going to put their certain agendas out. And we see sexuality, or sex can be weaponized, and that's what's happening to these kids. They're pawning these kids off. They're telling them, oh well, if you feel like this, then you might be part of this group of society, and don't let nobody tell you anything else different than that. If they do, then they should get in trouble, should be reprimanded, because they're not allowed to tell you how you're supposed to feel. But yet you're you're trying to push them into the direction of how you may want them feel. The people that are running some of these TV programs and all these other social media apps and things of that nature. And it's taking away the power that the parents are supposed to have. But then it also goes to, when you are a parent, being able to lead your child and understand that they may not always feel comfortable coming to talk to you, but you have to be open minded. Because however your
Mm-hmm.
parent treated you, if you come at them with the same vitriol, then it's going to be the same generational curses that can come on. And like you mentioned earlier about how you were done uh, at an early age, there's no telling how many other people in your and your family tree that have probably went through the same things but was afraid. And you wanted to step up. You wanted to be the one to break that. And because of sometimes family members are comfortable going along with what's comfortable or not rattling the family name or putting mud on it, they'll just keep on going along with it. And then it just creates chaos on and on and on. So now you're mad at your family, you're mad at the world, and then it creates these monsters that's out here right now who, if they might have gotten the right help, they could have been able to do something different, but now they're fighting their past and afraid of their future.
Yes.
And
And we want to know why our younger generation is so angry. It's not just about the sexual abuse. It is about the sexual abuse, but it's more to it. Why are they so angry? No one wants to listen. That's what they say. That's what they say. They don't care. They say that our parents, they don't really, I've heard this in volunteering where I volunteer at. I've heard some of the young ladies mention that, our parents, they're too busy. I'm like, wow, too busy. Hmm. I don't want to be that parent that's too busy. I don't. I want to pay attention. I want to keep my eyes open.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the best way to be, being able to have your eyes open because they are your kids. They come from you. And that's one thing that I see a lot where, you might see parents that put more time into, you know, being superficial than their kids. Or, well, oh, I got to make time for me. I got to do stuff for me. My life ain't gonna stop just because of them. Like, it ain't everything just about them. I got to be happy too. Well, you were happy when you were making them, so be happy raising them as well. You know what I mean? And
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. So and that's the part about it too. Like and enjoying creating something that is going to live on, that's going to carry on your name, and then generations are getting cut off. There are kids that are dying young where the grandparents are burying their last of their generation. And we have to be able to stand up in our communities, and even to those that don't have kids, be able to stand up and say, you know what, anything I can do to better my community, to better myself, that's what I'm going to do. And
Mm,
that's what my platform is about. I don't want to build a platform off of how much just how much money you can make and how you can make other people can hate on you even more. I don't care about that. My thing is about saving lives, being able to build your mind up and stay rich in mind. That's why that's been my slogan for my life, because I understand that uh, when you're not able to forgive yourself, forgive other people that did you wrong, you can carry that on with you. So when you try to
mm,
move forward and doors are opening for you, you always have that doubt in the back of your mind because of how you were treated. So when you're able
mm.
to alleviate that and have that pressure get off your shoulders, it makes room for you to be able to handle more. And then, you can just have a better trajectory moving forward. So I definitely
Hey,
understand everything you're saying.
yeah, Eli, I'm telling you, it is so. You mentioned, Elijah, that family members. One that came out in my book about what happened to me. I had family members call me and said, "That happened to you. That happened to me too." They didn't say anything. Now we're grown now. They never said anything when they were younger. They saw how I was treated when I came out and said something. Um, so they held it in. And when my book came out and they found out about some of the interviews that I've done on Facebook and they watched it, some family members have not spoken to me. You have to deal with, you have to be ready. You have to be ready when you do what I did. Um, if you want to help, then keep that mindset of helping no matter what, no matter who says what or who does what. Keep going. You have to be the authentic you. I have to be the authentic me. I can't be who someone wants me to be. I have to be who I am. And if that means that I lose family members, they don't want to talk to me anymore because they think I shunned their name, okay, well, then I lose family members, but someone's life is going to get changed. Another thing that you had mentioned, Elijah, was that social media, some of the things that are posted on social media that draws traffickers' attention is "nobody gets me." That's posted. "I'm so sick of being single." "I'm so ugly." "My parents don't trust me." "I'm being treated like a kid." "I need to get out of here." And when traffickers see that, they start going in on social media, they DM you and ask you questions or say, "I agree with the statement you made," and that opens up a conversation.
Yeah. And I like how you're detailing the signs of, you know, people that are in need of help or that are crying for help, and in somewhat in a coded language at times. So for those that didn't even pick up on those signs, now they're able to hear from you that, hey, oh wow, like I'm gonna start looking at this. I'm gonna start, really deep diving into this, because you never know if you have a young kid or even a teenager that might show you those signs. Now you can say, okay, I have something to go in and maybe work with now, because I can do my best to try to understand them better, rather than just brushing them off because, oh well, I just don't want to deal with it. So it is. I appreciate everything that you're saying.
Yes, Elijah. With you also mentioned about, it's not just the social media sites. Do you know the music that we listen to? The music that they listen to. I don't get into all that. Woo. uh, but the music that they listen to, it talks about, sexual activity. A lot of it talks about sexual activity and how they can love you down and sex you and all this other stuff. And you want some type of feeling in your life when you have low self-esteem. And not only that, television shows have become so um what's the word I'm looking for? They've become so open, I'll say, and so just so you sometimes you think that you're watching a pornography on television, and it's during the day. It's so horrible, and these children are like, "Oh, that's how I want to be loved. That's how, yes, this is what I like." It's so enticing. The temptations are out there, but we as adults, we have to pull back in our youth and talk to our youth. This is a television show. These people that are rapping and singing on stage, this is just for the money. When you don't know what their life is like when they get home, they may be lonely when they get home. It's all an act. Like you said, you do not do your show for money. You not for that reason. You have a heart. You have a passion for what you do. And the same with those that are on the stages. They have a passion for what they do, and their passion could be to get the attention from audience and get the money or whatnot. I don't know, but I do know that we as a society, if we don't grab our youth today, what our world is going to crumble and just fall.
Exactly, and that's why they spend so much money into confusing the youth. Using sex as a weapon, and then also showing that, hey, don't listen to your parents. They don't understand you. Nobody understands you, but we understand you because we're giving you everything that we think you want. And so, that's somewhat of a caveat. They'll try to use those who create these programs and try to, you know, change the frequencies of children's mind that are still trying to understand who they are, and their parents that do care and want to see the best for them, they're unable to have any strong um, touch on their kids as far as them being able to listen to them, because they feel like it's a disconnect. Oh well, you don't you don't understand this entertainer that understands me, so you don't understand me as well. So there's no point of us really talking. And one thing these kids what should understand is that respect goes a long way. If your parent is doing you
Mm.
wrong, or they're not there for you, that's one thing. But if they are there for you, they're showing you they care, just respect them. It's okay to agree to disagree, but you're not your parent's friend. You're their child. You can, have a great relationship with your parent, but I also understand that they're not going to be buddy buddy with you. They're going to have to discipline you in ways that are going to keep you alive, because that's what
Yeah.
it's about, keeping you alive, so that way as you get
Hmm.
older you can be able to live on this earth without having to depend on them. You can always reach out to them. You will always love them. They will always love you, but they want you to be self-sufficient, you know. So I
That
definitely
is
do.
so true. It is. I mean, the parents, as parents, we want to make sure that our children grow up and be successful, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. We want our children to be successful. It takes a lot of work. And when our children fall and make a mistake, don't scold them, because we got to remember we were children too. And I learned my lesson with my children. I made a big mistake. I made a lot of mistakes. And there is not a book that says the best parenting skills ever. There's not. Each situation is different. Each child is different. You can't raise the first child like you did the fourth child. And I learned, Elijah, so many different things in regards to raising my children. And I want your listeners to understand. Go back and apologize to them and let them know. Listen, I made a mistake. I said this because I was angry, or I said this because I was upset. And I want you to understand. It's only because I love you wholeheartedly. Let them know it's okay, and that they can move forward. That's how you develop a good relationship. And your child looks back and say, "Wow, my mom or my dad, they apologized to me. Wow, that's how you gain the respect. That's how you gain it." And then they'll come to you and say, "Well, can I talk to you?" And make sure that you have those wraparound times where you can talk with your child. Another thing that I learned is that once a month I talked with my children. Once a month, we had to have a family meeting once a month. Talk with the children, find out if there's anything that you hadn't said to me or we talked about, or something that you want to talk about, but you've been fearful. And I would tell them they could write it on a piece of paper, and that way I'll read it and it won't come off the wrong way, because sometimes it might say something and it might trigger us to say something. And so I would just come up with different ways of connecting with my children. And I've learned that it's better to have a listening ear than to be out having a loud mouth. It's better to have a listening ear than a loud mouth.
I definitely understand that, and that's something that we need. We need to have that family dynamic to where the kids can speak to the parents and vice versa, and it's done with respect. You know, you have kids who feel so entitled that, hey, well, my mom or my dad, he just gonna listen to me or whoever that guardian is. And you don't do that. You don't talk to your parents the same way you talk to your friends, because one thing about your parents, they're the ones that's keeping the roof over your head. They're the ones that's gonna love you in spite of whatever your friends say and the peer pressure they may put on you, and you don't do what they want to say, then they don't want to deal with you no more. Your parents, they're not obligated to be your friends, or on that level, but they should understand that they have an obligation to keep you alive, love you unconditionally, and also show you respect, because that goes a long way. Respect goes a long way. And those that believe in the Bible, they also understand that kids that aren't respecting their parents, they end up, in a lot of trouble and a lot of issues, and things seem to not always go right for them because they're cutting off their life source. And the Bible details that for any of those that, do read the Bible. But in general, respecting your parents and the parents respecting the kids, it goes a long way to help the family continue to grow stronger like it should.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Elijah. I mean, my son, like I said, I wasn't the perfect parent, and I'm not. I have older children. My baby is 18. So I have a blended family of six children. But one of my sons is in prison for murder. And I share that because I want parents to understand it's not always like you said. They have to be respectful. He thought that it would be better to be down, to be out in the street, than to respect me. And he went out there, and like you said, I'm a believer of Christ, and I told him what the word said, and he didn't want to listen. With him being in prison now, we still conversate. I love all my children, and we have good relationships. And I remember him telling me one day, he said, "Mom," he said, "don't you ever blame yourself." He said, "It was my fault. I did this." And he said, "And God dealing with me because of what I did." And it was hard for me because I did. When he first went in, I was like, what did I do wrong? How did this happen? And so on and so forth. And I was beating myself up so bad about what happened with him. But he was in a gang and he wanted to prove that he could be down. And that was one of the things that he did. And unfortunately, that happened. But you know what? I thank God that he is still alive and that God is dealing with him while he's in there. He writes me all the time, and we basically now we just go through scripture and Bible and talk about what the Bible says, what he believes, what I believe, and we have a good relationship when he calls me and we talk. But it's just so important for parents to understand um, that we just need to make sure that we have an open ear. I can't say that enough, Elijah. We have to have an open ear. We need to keep our eyes open as well when it comes down to making sure that they're not being victimized anyway, whether it's drugs or whether it's sex. We want to make sure that our children um, can come to us and talk to us. And like I said, come up with different ways of how to communicate. If it's not having that once a month meeting with the children, figure out a way to make sure that you keep those lines open. And counseling, a lot of times people don't think that counseling is good. I believe that counseling works. I really believe that. I wish that I had went through counseling. I think majority of my life would have been different had I went through counseling to talk about the issues that I went through, the feelings that I had, and whatnot. I think that if I would have went through the counseling, I could have made some better decisions. However, even though I did not go through that counseling, and there are some adults right now that's listening um, that didn't go through counseling and they have held it in, it's okay because you still can seek that help today. You still can get that help today. It's important. It's important. You get into relationships as adults, and we wonder why this certain person makes us feel this way or that way. Well, you might want to look at your past. What happened? We have to go back and look and see what happened, why I don't like when this person does this or does that, and figure out how we can improve ourselves. A lot of relationships go dead, and I talk about that in my book. I've been there because I was married, and my first marriage, I was married for 15 years, and I only married him because he was helping me with my children. I did not love this man. He was helping with me with my children, and I stayed with him for 15 years, and I dealt with verbal abuse and in the end, some physical abuse. And I want your listeners to understand it's critical. It's critical for us to wake up and take action with our children today.
Yeah, that's definitely key. It starts with the children, and it starts with you loving yourself, understanding that you know you should be able to forgive yourself, and also know when enough is enough. Because as long as you're alive, you have a chance. But
Yes.
when you no longer here, nobody knows your story. Nobody knows what you went through to get over that point. And to still be here, each day is a new day for you to change where you were. You can be one step, 1 inch better than you were yesterday. And it's not about looking through somebody else's lenses and saying, well, why am I not where they are at? Because you're not them, and where they're going is not exactly where you're going. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that people will need to realize. And I just thank you for being vulnerable and open enough to just be real. When people
Mhm.
give their truth, sometimes it's hard for people to digest because you know they look in the mirror and sometimes it hurts. One of my recent songs that I did earlier this year is called High Alert, The world's on high alert. When you see the truth through the mirror, does it hurt? The pain is the pleasure for some, and that's the worst. How do we find common ground on unstable earth? Came from just seeing the way the world is now and being able to speak on the times and also being able to connect my life to where hopefully it can help somebody else. And that's what you're doing. You're being able to be open enough, and it's going to save people's lives. You know, you standing up for a better life has saved your life and those around you that have prayed for you and been in your corner. And it doesn't matter if you don't have family or certain friends you can, if you have like-minded people in your corner or society that's dedicated to help people like yourself, that's who you gravitate to. Stop gravitating that you want to show validation to, because they don't care. You're
Mm,
never going to be good enough for them. You're never going to say something or do something that they're always like. They may not see themselves in a certain way, and they understand there's a light and there's something in you that if you tap into it, you can be somebody very powerful. And for them, as long as they condemn your light, that's going to make them comfortable in their own darkness. So definitely, I agree wholeheartedly again with what you're saying.
all right. Well, thank you. I love that. You're such a wise young man. You have a wonderful spirit about you, and I love that. But yes, you're absolutely right. We have to stop wanting to be validated by other people. We just, and that was my issue. I wanted to be validated by other people, and we have to stop it. We always talk about how Black lives matter. Well, youth lives matter too. Youth lives matter.
Yeah. And I understand that you do have, some different businesses, and I would definitely like for you to talk about that.
Okay, well, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I do events as well. I in the Charlotte area, I do weddings, birthday parties, and whatnot. And that business is Events by Michelle D. And my husband and I, we have a courier business like Amazon. Um, where our goal is to actually be a part of the Amazon Corporation, but it's just like Amazon where we deliver packages, we deliver auto parts and whatnot. And also in January, I will have the grand opening of Unbreakable Faith nonprofit, and we'll deal with mentoring youth that have been through the sexual abuse, sexual trauma, or sex traffic. We'll also educate and we give resources to family members of those who have been directly affected.
That's awesome to hear. And, any way I can help out as far as sharing those things that you have, I definitely would do that on my platform because people definitely need to hear about that. And especially in that Charlotte area, I know there's a lot going on and there's a lot of business down there. So it'd be great for them to see that from you what you're able to do. And I'm pretty sure there's people getting ready to get married, or they have other events going on and they're gonna need you. So gotta definitely be
Yeah.
aware. And it's ownership. Being able to not have to depend on you know the 9 to 5, because there's nothing wrong with that. But for those who that want to be entrepreneurs, there's another step that you continue to take to be able to be your own boss, to be able, but also be able to make opportunities for other people. And I like what you're doing, you and your family.
Yes, I always say that if you want to start your own business, be careful who you tell.
Oh yeah.
Make sure you're careful because people do not want to see you succeed. And those who smile in your face are stabbing you in your back sometimes. You do have those that are in your corner, but you need to be careful and wise in who you tell and make sure that you do the research in the business that you want to operate because I kept running from Breakable Faith Corporation. And I knew God was calling me to this, but me being the person that I am, I'd rather just be the servant. I would rather help. I don't want to take the lead role. And I knew that God was telling me, listen, you need to step out. And I was always willing to help other businesses. Let me see what I could do to help you and move forward with you. But there I'm sitting and I'm still not being productive. And so I started, that's why I said with Unbreakable Faith, but it's going to start in January with helping out. But we don't want anybody to discourage us either from starting our businesses. And I also heard it said that if you can do it for free, and that's the thing that you love, if you can do it for free, that's your passion, that's your love. Some people can net real well. That's their passion, that's their love. I don't have time for that. I no, that's not me. Some people they go out and they do the soaps and whatnot. I probably would break you out. That's not my thing. But whatever it is with what you love to do, that's your passion. That's where you should start your business and keep it moving. Keep it moving because once one door opens, another door opens, and you find out that you got more than just one gift. I mean, look at these big corporations. They have multiple businesses, and we can too.
Yep, we sure can. Sure can. I thank you for continuing to give people motivation throughout this whole interview. And for those that are getting ready to start their businesses, I know you detailed about being careful about who you share um, your business with, as far as your ideas and things of that nature. Is there anything else on that you want to add as far as advice for up and coming business owners or people that just in general thinking about maybe starting a business but don't know uh, maybe that first direction? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Like I said, to make sure you do the research. If this is a business for you, do the research. Do not quit your job.
Okay.
Stay there and do your research. Get involved in that, whatever it is. If you want to be a chef, then you need to get around chefs. You need to circle yourself around what it is that you would like to do and start understanding the language. If you want to be an attorney, start understanding what they are doing, how their verbiage is. I don't call myself a great speaker. I just tell the truth and keep it moving. But there are some that are great, wonderful speakers. And if you want that, start doing the research and look at, I mean, the social media is so full of great avenues for you to look at what it is that you want. If you want to own your own car dealership, it starts with A, B, C, and D. Don't jump from A to D and don't give up. The first 2 years, I've always been told, the first 2 years, it is a little difficult to get moving in a direction. But if you can make it through those first 2 years, it's worth it. It's worth it. You can look back and you can encourage others and say, listen, the first 2 years was a little rough, but now here I'm in year five, I'm in year six. And if you have a little small hump in the road at year 5 or 6, it's okay. Do not close the door. Keep going. A person that keeps going and falling forward can always get up. Fall forward, don't fall back.
Exactly right on how to win.
Yeah,
Go.
I mean, look at you, Elijah. You are wonderful. I mean, for you to be such a young man, I'm telling you, and all the wisdom that you have, you're wonderful. Our conversations that we have, I'm just like, look at him. He is on point. He got it going on.
I, I definitely appreciate that. I'm humbled by any type of appreciation I get or kudos, but I understand where I was at my darkest point when I felt like all I had left was just my words and my actions. And when you're able to build on something and it means something to you, you understand that it can also help somebody else. And that's what I'm about. I do have different things I have going on and I put my time into. But one thing that I always try to make time for is have something inspirational for the kids and also be able to talk to and network with people like yourself who are about life and speaking life, not death. And that's what I'm about.
Absolutely. Yes.
So now, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close out the show?
Well, I do. I want to advise the listeners that if you need help and if you think that you know of someone that may have gone through human trafficking, sexual abuse, this is the number you can call. It's 1-888-373-7888. It's 1-888-373-7888. And that's the number you can call. That's the Human Trafficking Resource Center. You can give them a call. And you also, if you want to DM me, you can go to Unbreakable Faith Corporation. I'm on Facebook, and you can reach out to me and DM me, and I don't mind talking to you. And also, you can actually give me a call. You can give me a call, and my number is 980-498 7297. 980-498-7297. And that's the office number. If I'm not in the office, I will get back with you. It's been busy, but when I have changed my schedule around so I can be in the office more. And so if you my office number where anyone can call me. If I'm not in the office, leave a message. It's just my personal office. It's 980-498-7297. 980-498-7297. And you can reach out to me, like I said, at Unbreakable Faith Corporation on Facebook. I am also on Instagram at author_Dewitt, and also at um, if you want to email me, anyone want to email me, they can at umbrkfth@gmail.com, which is the initials of Unbreakable Faith at gmail.com. And so if anyone want to reach out to me, listen, I'm real and I'm here. I'm not going to dog you out. I promise you that I'm here.
And I want to thank you again so much for being on the Mind of Ivory podcast, and to everyone listening out there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting, and to everyone, be blessed. Thank you again, Michelle.
You're welcome. Have a great one.
How are you too?